All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to switch it over. I'll show you the results from that last poll in just a moment, so I'm going to pass it along to Michael Gord from Blockchain Education from beautiful Toronto, Canada. Here you go.
Cheers. Got my Canucks? Nice. You guys from Toronto? Yeah. Nice. Supposed to have slides?
Yeah, he's going to switch it for you. Cool. At this point, I am not your logistics man. He's going to cover some of this. You can just pretend. You got it, Lee?
Where's this camera?
Take it away.
Cool. So ICOs have become super exciting over the past couple of years. I think there's a lot of controversy on which ICOs are legitimate and which are not. I think that there are two main indicators on whether an ICO is legitimate, and that is, first of all, can the team create a global community? If the team can create a global community, I think the token has an increasing value because with a big community, it's easy to create real-world usefulness. A lot of people using something and massive demand for businesses to adopt it. The second is, can we achieve 24/7 trading volume on global exchanges? Also, the number one way to do that is by having a global community that demands the token to be listed on exchanges. So I started MLG Blockchain Consulting, and I'm an advisor to the Blockchain Education Network. And with MLG, we facilitate turnkey execution of ICOs. We create global communities for our token clients. So I'm going to talk about how. We're going to go through a bit of history and why I think ICOs are exciting and are going to stay here in the blockchain industry. We're going to talk about some trends. We're going to talk about what communities and network effects are, some examples of how we're growing global communities. We're going to finish with an airdrop. So the reason why I'm here talking to you guys and how I'm involved in the industry is in 2012, I realized that blockchains were the most exciting technology of our generation. So I started the first collegiate blockchain community in Canada at the university that I went to called McGill. Once you get into the industry, life starts to snowball with opportunities. So I want my friends at other universities to create clubs. And I started Bitcoin Canada to be able to have a national scope because I was about to graduate. And then I started to collaborate with the Blockchain Education Network, which is a robust global network of other university students, high school students, and young professionals that thought like me and believed blockchains were the most exciting technology of our generation. When I graduated, I launched MLG Blockchain Consulting as to make professional what I was doing in university. And now we're spinning out new companies like Airdrop X to facilitate the business that we're getting at MLG. So a brief history on why I think the blockchain industry is exploding. I mean, obviously it is, but the speed of explosion that I see and that I want you all to see too. So in 1900, this is a picture of Fifth Avenue in New York City. It's one of the main streets downtown New York. I'm sure most of you have been here. And as you can see, 100% or 99.99% of the street is horses and carriages. There's a single car here. I'm not going to ask you because raise your hand if you can find the car. Amazing. You guys probably, have you seen the picture before? You can actually see the car? Cool. I couldn't. But it's cool because 13 years later, this is how Fifth Street in New York City looks. It's 100% cars. So it took 13 years for cars to become so dominant in our culture that not only were they 100% of the transportation or the means of transportation in New York, but they were so strongly integrated in our society that they became our means of identification. So you can see in 1900, there's a single car on the streets, and 13 years later, there's a single horse-drawn carriage. The reason that I like starting these presentations is that I think 99.99% of the world does not understand or appreciate how quickly we're moving and how quickly blockchains will become such an integral part of our cultures that our identities will be on the blockchains. So let's talk about some trends and opportunities that I see in the blockchain industry. So ICOs are starting to raise money with legitimate valuations. We're not seeing ICOs releasing a white paper and raising $50 million anymore. It's real companies with real operations. There's armies of, or starting to be armies, small armies of analysts at investment banks and large enterprises that are writing about ICOs, and the raises are starting to be legitimate valuations. We're starting to see existing private enterprises with real operations, real revenues, real businesses that are looking to do ICOs rather than just startups. And another exciting trend with that is now public companies are looking to do fundraising through ICOs. So it's not just private businesses and it's not just startups. It's multinational corporations and public companies. Blockchain open source mergers and acquisitions does not exist yet, but it's an exciting topic of conversation. What happens if a blockchain token is looking to purchase the centralized competitor? So let's say, what happens if Storage purchases Dropbox or wants to merge and acquire Dropbox assets? Super exciting trend in the industry. We're starting to see strong government interest and increasing involvement. So we're actually partnered with the government of India to create the first government-funded blockchain academy in India, and I think globally, called the Kerala Blockchain Academy. So governments are not all anti-blockchains now. We're starting to see rails to connect the different blockchains, both private and public, like Cosmos and like Aeon and like Polkadot. So essentially, I think in the very short term, we'll be able to have dApps, like Ethereum decentralized applications, that have a transaction that triggers a Bitcoin transaction that goes to your chain, your private chain banking blockchain that moves some Ethereum in the decentralized application. So we're starting to see really cool integrations between blockchains from the interoperability side. We're starting to see off-chain transactions. So essentially, you'll be able to have hundreds of off-chain transactions on the Raiden network of Ethereum or the Trinity network for Neo, or some of the other scaling networks on different blockchains that will allow for the transactions scaling of blockchains to increase times thousands almost overnight, which is really cool for mainstream adoption. And the last is that we're seeing the approach of the chasm. So we're in, yeah, awesome. So we passed the innovator phase. I think we're in the early adopter phase, and I think super exciting. We're about to cross the chasm into the early majority. And when that happens, I think that blockchains are going to become so mainstream that we'll see, mainstream rappers talking about their Bitcoins. So now let's talk about ICOs and why I think ICOs are super cool and are a dominant part of the industry that I think will only continue. So ICOs allow entrepreneurs to raise money in days or weeks rather than months or years. So going to market with an ICO, to properly do it, it takes an amount of time, but essentially you could create a token and have an ICO live overnight, whereas to raise money traditionally takes a long time of going through venture appraisals and everything required to raise money privately. It allows you to raise money from a global audience. So whereas traditional fundraising, you are limited to your direct network, often your direct geographical network, ICOs allow you to raise investment from anyone around the world that likes what you're doing. So this works for us in Dallas or us in Toronto or in San Fran, where there's a great venture community and people are able to get funded privately. But if we were living in a country that doesn't have a strong venture network, being able to raise money from a global audience is extremely exciting. It allows you to sell equity of your network and retain the equity of your business, which is great because a network of any business that is operating has massive value. Just the network of suppliers, of users, of producers, the staff, all of that network has massive value, and ICOs allow you to monetize your network. It allows you to launch your business with thousands or even tens of thousands of initial supporters and brand ambassadors, whereas raising money privately, you have a couple ultra high net worth people that are not actively supporting your token offering. It allows you to have additional functionality and usefulness of your decentralized application, access crypto markets and crypto hype, and integrate with blockchain rails. So launching a token today, I think, is launching a website in 1990. And in 1990, the functionality of your website would be quite basic, but the fact that you had a website in 1990 would have allowed you to access the thousands of new innovations developed on the internet that would allow you to continue to grow it and to improve it into something that is exciting. So the total capital raised by ICOs obviously is increasing exponentially. I expect that we'll continue to see this, go up to the moon. Now let's talk about communities and network effects and why I think they're the number one indicator on the success of a token network or token economy, and why we're focusing on creating global network effects with MLG and the Blockchain Education Network and our portfolio companies. So I think the best way to compare a great analogy of tokens is to websites as the blockchain is to the internet. So websites could do anything, and if there's an increasing growing network of users of the website, then it has an increasing usefulness. And there could be websites that do the exact same thing as each other, and as long as there's a network of users, the website has value. It's the same as a token. I think that if you create a network of users of the token, then it's easy to create real-world usefulness because there's a massive network of users. And the internet was the foundational technology that allowed for websites to be created. Blockchains are the foundational technology that allows for tokens to be created. So I think the easiest way to create a token community is to educate 50 people or X number of people in regions around the world about the value proposition of the token, the network you're trying to create, and then by providing the resources to the region leaders to continue to grow the community. And we've seen awesome case studies of this. So I think that where we're getting in blockchains and where we want to get with token projects is the second half of the chessboard. Has anyone heard this story by any chance? Show of hands, out of curiosity. Cool, not very many. So the creator of the chessboard many years ago was allowed to choose what they wanted as a reward for having created an awesome game. And what they chose was that they wanted just a single grain of rice on the first square. They wanted it to double on every subsequent square until the last square, in which case they would be compensated fully. And the first half of the chessboard, the amount of rice ends up being 100 kilograms, which is a lot, but it's the size of an elephant, so it's not the biggest ever. But what happens on the second side of the chessboard is that the doubling effect becomes so exponential that the last square of the chessboard is a pile that is larger than Mount Everest. So in the example, the creator was killed, but this is something that I think at a foundational level with blockchains and with the emergence of all types of disruptive technology, we're reaching the second half of the chessboard. And something that we look to do when we create network effects for our tokens. And we start with one person, and that person brings 2 people, and then brings 4 people, and eventually there's a massive network. So I think a cool observation is that we're currently in the largest convergence of exponential technologies in history. So it's not just blockchains, it's nanotechnology, it's artificial intelligence, it's robotics, there's a bunch of exponential technologies. The reason why I'm focused on blockchains is I think blockchains are the foundational layer that all these other exponential technologies are able to reach what they're all supposed to be doing. And I think that with all of this convergence of exponential technologies and with the second side of the technology chessboard that we're experiencing, we won't experience 100 years of progress in the 21st century. It'll be more like 20,000 years of progress at today's rate. So Airdrop X, like I mentioned that our business, MLG, we facilitate turnkey execution of ICOs. We focus on creating global distribution for the tokens, turnkey execution with global distribution. And we're creating a suite of applications to help make it easier for us and our clients to execute ICOs and create global communities. So Airdrop X is live. It's at airdropx.com. We launched it about a month ago, and we have 15,000 users. It's growing pretty awesomely. So essentially what Airdrop X does is it creates the first X thousand people for a token project. And in a way that educates the person about the token project, that creates the Telegram, that brings the initial enthusiast into Telegram to be able to grow a massive Telegram audience. And then with the massive community, we're able to go out and find real world usefulness. We're able to get connected with exchanges. We're able to do everything else a lot easier because we have a massive community for our projects. So we have a couple active airdrops that are going on. If you guys go to the website, you're welcome to sign up and you can get some free tokens. And our goal is that by 2020, we'll create 5 million new token hodlers with airdrop events. So I'd like to conclude by saying that we overestimate what can happen in 1 year and we underestimate what can happen in 5 years. Any questions? ICOs are tokens. We facilitate turnkey execution for ICOs, and we continue working with the tokens post-ICO to continue to build a global community, to get them exchange listings and liquidity, and to create real-world partnerships. The parent company is mlgblockchain.com. The airdropping social platform is airdropx.com. mlgblockchain.com. Yep. Any more questions? Cool. Yeah. To engage with us, so we're flexible. I should preface that. So it's kind of cool because companies reach out to us with anything that you can think of, and then we solve problems and we create turnkey solutions to solve the problem for the next 14 people. So sometimes companies come to us because we do turnkey execution with global distribution. Sometimes companies come to us and they have everything figured out and they just need a smart contract audit. So we can facilitate a smart contract audit, or they just need to have the contract written, or they just need they want to be featured on NASDAQ or whatever publication. So we can facilitate single parts of the execution. If that's the case, then you can reach out to us whenever. If you're looking for us to be leading the execution, I would recommend we need about 2 months to successfully run a campaign from start to finish. Definitely. So Airdrop X is now available in I think 5 languages. It'll probably be available in every language in the next couple days or a couple small amount of time. We're actively working on that. With regards to other, you don't want to just have Airdrop X be your only marketing campaign. You ought to have an integrated strategy. So we have a global MLG ambassador network that is high school, university, young professionals, essentially anyone young that's interested in blockchains and wants to get active in the industry in a professional way. So our ambassador network is 100+ people from a lot of countries. So we are able to translate white papers and stuff like that through our network. Yep. So we're working on Tron right now. That is our highest profile clients. Tron, they're 14 by CoinMarketCap. But we worked on 10 ICOs to varying capacities, and then with our partners, we worked on a bunch. Yeah, so we actually have been. So we've done the first couple security token raises in Canada. So we're getting into the regulated security token offerings too, but all of our tokens are checked by legal. We have a strong legal team. So we execute ICOs. We have not done an ICO yet to power our business. Yep. It totally depends. The average cost for turnkey for us to do everything is X. If you have sometimes a company has a tech team that is great at everything but blockchains, so we can come in and just support the blockchain integration, or we could do the entire token development. Like we could do all of the. And then sometimes the token projects have famous people on their founding team, and that makes it way easier for us to create global networks because of the reach of the founders. Whereas if the team is more low pro, then it's more expensive to create the required impressions to have a large enough whitelist that you can fund your ICO successfully. So it's impossible for me to say a number off the top of my head. It totally depends on where your project is at. A range, 200 to 500, I would put minimum, and then but it totally depends, because if projects have, and that's not including legal, it completely depends. I would need to hear the scope to be able to accurately quote you. Cool. Thanks, guys.